And I'm happy for those last words because we have a privilege to host Ms. Айвазовської, who actually does a lot of work on the civic society level when it comes to documenting crimes. So if you could please do a follow-up on what you do, how you address all those suffering that actually Ukrainians are now coming through in Ukraine. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for these patient words, because it's very important to know that we are talking about political will, not just rules, because Russia tried to broken the international order and international legislation or decision which were made by societies and civilized world after the Second World War. And now we are fighting for new order. That's why civil society in Ukraine and Ukrainians are trying to documentize as much war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide cases as it possible on the field in Ukraine. We have a great coalition who are working with this issue and abroad, because we already have more than 6 million refugees in Europe and other countries, and they are eyewitnesses too. They lost their homes, their relatives, families. They escaped from occupied territories, and they have to be under the attention, not only Ukrainian state or Ukraine or general prosecutor, but under the attention of our partners, because of their jurisdiction to start investigation in Poland, in Estonia, in France, Sweden, and so on and so forth. And we are very happy that joint investigations team was established. Now we have to understand how officials and authorities in different countries may communicate and participate on investigation with civil society, because some of the countries abroad do not have and didn't have such experience at all. In Ukrainian reality, civil society and NGOs started to fight for their rights, for human rights, for many years ago. And we have some skills, knowledges, and we are very cautious on that, and we are very visible. But in some of the European countries, it's not so easy to do. Just to communicate, to call to prosecutor, or to open the doors for investigation or invite them. But we decided to open the Center of Documentization of War Crimes, and what we are doing, we started this preliminary interviewing of the people of Ukrainian refugees who left Ukraine, who are not under the Ukrainian jurisdiction now, but who want to have justice too. That's why we believe that we have to do lessons from last 7 months' experience and last 8 years' experience, because war didn't start on 24th of February. And we know very well that the act of aggression became a reality for us in March 2014, when Russia decided to annex these territories. And the world were not so loud as now. And many countries accepted that reality. Of course, they are not officially said that Crimea is a part of Russia, but we have had to fight step by step on a daily basis that Crimea is Ukrainian territory. That's why people there is under Ukrainian jurisdiction, and Ukrainian state has some responsibilities, but some rights and obligation to fight for these people and investigate the crimes which are going for many years against Crimean Tatars, against civil activists, against media, and so on and so forth. And we understood that we can documentize tens of thousands of crimes, but it doesn't mean that headquarters in Russia, big fish in Russia, will be under the investigation. That's why we find that only one solution. And I'm talking about establishing special tribunal against act of aggression. And we have already this case with Sierra Leone, when the president, which was on the position, which had the mandate, were under the investigation. It's very important not just start this process symbolically, because everyone are talking that it's so easy to investigate act of aggression. Everyone knows that act of aggression happened, but establishing of such tribunal will help Ukrainian citizens to have some hope for the future perspective, to build accountability and justice against everyone who did war crimes in our territories, and again those people who made that decision to start this war in 2014. And this has a direct relation and connection with reparations, because I believe that Russia, after Putin, has to pay for the, not just for atrocities or war crimes in Ukraine, but has to pay for recovery in Ukraine. And it's about punishment of each and everyone in Russia, because each of the taxpayers have to pay money for recovery of new modern post-war Ukraine. And this is a solution, because it's about lessons learned for next generation in Russia. About tribunal, we are fighting for that. We are advocating this idea. And what we see in Brussels, in Hague, in many other capitals in EU, that it's so easy doing, but it's about political will. So we have to make this political will. Because if we will start investigation against Putin, Putin will be toxic for everyone, for third countries, for global south, for Asia, for, I don't know, China, and many, many other countries. How to talk and negotiate with Putin about anything, about economy, relationship, and so on and so forth, if this person will be under the investigation. And we believe that UN, for now, can be a platform for establishing such tribunal. I'm talking about from the NGO side. I'm not sure that my state will not continue to work on this track. But what we see, we can waste in time, patient, resources, but will not have success. And we have to be effectively oriented on resultative process. And because of Ukrainian status, the status of Ukraine as a candidate to a membership in EU, we have to understand that if we are going to be a part of EU in far future, now it's a time from EU side to help us establish this special tribunal. Because bilateral agreements in between Ukraine as a state and EU as a international organization will be faster and will be easily to promote the ideas to join other countries to this process, like Canada, Japan, the USA, and others. I heard many times from lawyers in Brussels or some other capitals which are thinking about justice and accountability that we can't have access personally to Putin. That's why we don't want to start investigation, because he will not be in a room of the new founded court or tribunal. And then Ukrainian society will be very disappointed. But from our side, it's very important to say that Ukrainian society will be disappointed if everyone will talk that it's easy doing thing to establish this tribunal or to adopt the decision that it was an act of aggression, but nobody will do anything on a practical stage, on a practical level. That's why I'm calling to help us not just collect the data about war crimes. It's very important because it's about truth. But to think about tribunal as a tool to stop Putin and to stop future Russia, which will continue to fight against Ukraine. Because this war wasn't start even in 2014. This war was started when Stalin became a leader, like mental leader of new Russia after the collapse of Soviet Union. This war was started because Soviet Union were not punished after genocide in Ukraine, after the Second World War, when nobody counted Ukrainians, which were dying. And in between 75 million victims, 10 million were from Ukraine. 10 million. That's why I'm calling to Germany to be more brave, to stay with us. Because Russia didn't win the Second World War. Ukraine and Ukrainian nation were in between those who stopped this awful page of our history. And my last point, that tribunal, it's for brave people. And peace, it's not about deal. I saw articles already in open sources when opinion leaders in EU started to talk that justice versus peace. Justice can't be versus peace, because justice, it's an end game of this war. Justice, it's about not just victims, It's for new generations of Russians, which will not start new war against Europeans, Ukrainians, or other states. So please, do not continue to share this narrative that we will have peace, but through the deal without justice. Justice is an end game. Thank you.
Thank you.